Did you see that? Two men are dragging someone into a pit, and the forest is silent except for the crunch of leaves under their boots. Eli Carter freezes, heart racing, sweat dampening his forehead. He knows he should run. He knows he is too small to stop them. But his eyes lock on the figure being pulled, and something inside him ignites. Every instinct screams to act. The fog wraps around his legs like a living thing, and the air smells of wet pine and earth. He takes a shaky breath, then hurls a stone. It hits a tree, making a sharp crack, and the men startle, just enough for Eli to slip through the underbrush, moving faster than he ever has. Mud squishes under his worn sneakers, branches whip his face, but he does not stop. His hands reach out and grip the coat of the figure, pulling with all the strength his 12-year-old body can muster. The person stirs, a groan escaping, and Eli feels a flicker of hope. Miles Keene emerges from the shadows, tall, composed, scanning the fog, eyes sharp and calculating, every movement deliberate. Eli points frantically, gasping for air, and Miles nods, understanding without words, guiding them toward a safe path lined with thick trees. Every step is tense, every sound amplified. A snapping twig could betray them. A glimpse of a third figure moving quietly between the trees freezes Eli's stomach. Someone else is here. Someone watching. Eli's pulse hammers in his ears. The fog shifts as they move, pale light filtering through the canopy, glinting off wet leaves. The figure he is pulling finally steadies, grasping Eli's arm in silent acknowledgement. The weight is heavy, but Eli will not let go. They reach the edge of a small clearing, and Miles gestures them into the cover of an abandoned shed, the scent of damp wood filling the air. Eli drops to his knees, chest heaving, adrenaline shaking every muscle, but he keeps watch, peering through the shadows at the forest beyond. Something about the scene feels off, a subtle hint that danger is not over. A leaf shifts, a shadow moves differently, and Eli realizes the forest is full of eyes. He glances at the figure beside him, who is finally conscious enough to whisper thanks, voice weak but steady. Miles crouches, hand on a concealed radio, eyes flicking to every angle, ready to act. Eli's hands are trembling, but his resolve hardens. He knows this is only the beginning. The fog swirls around them, hiding secrets and revealing threats, and Eli understands that what happened tonight will not be the last challenge. Someone has already set plans in motion, and Eli's mind races, heart still pounding, trying to anticipate the next move as the night stretches before them, endless and full of uncertainty. The shed is quiet, but the tension is thick enough to choke on. Eli Carter kneels beside the figure of Silas Roar, eyes scanning the foggy tree line, every shadow feeling alive. The adrenaline has not left his body, and his breaths come in sharp, uneven bursts. Miles Keene crouches close, radio pressed to his lips, sending short pulses of information, eyes never leaving the forest. Eli's hands shake, but he forces them to stay steady, gripping the edge of the shed for balance. Outside, the wind shifts, carrying whispers of movement, and Eli flinches, heart thudding. Every instinct tells him they are not alone, that the third presence is still there, waiting, observing, planning the next step. Silas tries to sit up, groaning softly, and Eli steadies him, a surge of protectiveness washing through him, a feeling he had never known before. The fog thickens, wrapping around them, the trees bending slightly as though leaning in to listen. Miles whispers instructions, precise and calm, guiding Eli to help Silas move toward a hidden path, using every step to avoid detection. Eli notices footprints near the edge of the clearing, fresh and unfamiliar, and his stomach tightens. Someone else has been here, someone powerful, someone capable of intervening at any moment. He swallows hard and nods to Miles, who places a reassuring hand on his shoulder, the pressure grounding him. They inch forward, Silas leaning on Eli's arm, every rustle of leaves making Eli jump, every shadow a possible threat. The path narrows, and they must move single file, heightening the sense of danger, each second stretching longer than the last. A branch snaps nearby, and Eli freezes, heart pounding, but Miles signals forward, and they continue, slower now, deliberate, but no less urgent. Silas murmurs a word of thanks, his voice weak, trembling, and Eli feels a rush of emotion, pride mixed with fear, a fragile hope that they might make it out. The clearing opens into a slightly wider space, and Eli spots a faint light flickering ahead, possibly a safe house or another ally waiting. He does not dare speak, does not dare celebrate, only moves, every muscle taut, senses heightened. Miles stops suddenly, listening, and Eli instinctively drops lower, pressing Silas against his chest, eyes wide. Something is off. A shadow flits behind a tree, too quick, too controlled, and Eli realizes that the night is far from over. The wind carries a new sound, footsteps, measured, deliberate, closer than before. Eli's stomach twists with anxiety and anticipation. Miles signals them to take cover behind a fallen log, and Eli obeys instantly, holding his breath, feeling the weight of Silas's head against him. The light ahead flickers again, and Eli wonders who is waiting for them, what the shadow means, and how close the danger has really come. Every rustle, every whisper of the forest feels amplified, a symphony of suspense that tightens around them like a vice. Eli glances at Silas, then at Miles, and in that shared look, they understand that the night is far from finished, and whatever comes next will demand everything they have. The forest holds its breath as Eli Carter leads Silas roar through the underbrush, every step heavy with the knowledge that they are not yet safe. Miles Keen moves beside them, silent and vigilant, eyes scanning the fog for the slightest movement. Eli feels the weight of responsibility pressing on him, a mixture of fear and determination coiling in his chest. Silas leans on him, offering a quiet nod of trust, and Eli realizes that for the first time in his life, someone powerful is counting on him. The wind shifts, carrying a faint sound of movement, and Eli freezes, heart hammering, every muscle tense. Miles signals, and they duck behind a fallen tree, listening, waiting, the seconds stretching endlessly. Silas whispers a question, asking if they will make it, and Eli swallows hard, answering only with a glance, knowing words might betray their position. Shadows move at the edge of the clearing, and Eli senses a new presence, someone watching, calculating, testing their reactions. The forest seems to close in, each branch and leaf a possible threat, each rustle a potential danger. Eli's mind races, thinking of escape routes, safe paths, and the narrowest gaps through the trees. Silas steadies himself, breathing shallow, eyes wide, showing both vulnerability and resolve, and Eli feels a surge of protectiveness, a need to shield him from whatever comes next. Miles shifts, guiding them through the maze of trunks, whispering directions with precision, and Eli follows without hesitation, trusting his instincts and the guidance of the man who moves like a shadow. The clearing widens, revealing a faint glow in the distance, but Eli senses the glow might be a trap, a lure to pull them into another danger. He tightens his grip on Silas, heart pounding, mind alert. They inch forward, every step measured, aware that the forest is full of hidden eyes. Suddenly, a branch snaps too close for comfort, and Eli spins, scanning the fog, adrenaline surging. Miles places a firm hand on his shoulder, grounding him, and Silas murmurs a weak laugh, trying to ease the tension. Eli cannot relax. The danger is not over. He notices a pattern in the footprints around them, a subtle signature of someone familiar, someone who has been here before, leaving a trail with purpose. The realization hits him like a bolt of lightning. An insider has been manipulating the path, guiding them, watching their every move, and perhaps even controlling how close the danger gets. Eli's stomach tightens, and he knows the stakes have just escalated. Miles signals them forward, and they move as one, the forest alive with unseen eyes, whispers of movement, and the weight of consequence pressing on every step. Each rustle, each flicker of light, every echo of sound is magnified, creating a rhythm of suspense that keeps Eli's senses sharp and his heart racing. As they approach the edge of the glow, Eli sees a small clearing, an abandoned cabin half hidden by fog. Relief flickers for a moment, but it is fleeting. A shadow moves across the corner of his vision, deliberate and quick, and Eli freezes, realizing that whatever awaits them inside the cabin may hold secrets even more dangerous than the chase through the forest. He exchanges a look with Silas, whose eyes reflect trust, fear, and a quiet plea for guidance. Miles gestures silently, and they approach cautiously, the tension coiling tighter, the stakes higher, and the forest holding its secrets as the first real twist of the night reveals itself in the pattern of footprints leading directly toward the cabin. The cabin looms ahead, half hidden by fog, its windows dark and unwelcoming. Eli Carter tightens his grip on Silas' roar, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down, his own heart racing with anticipation. Miles' keen gestures forward, signaling caution, and every step toward the door feels like a calculated risk. Eli's mind races, imagining what could be waiting inside, a decision he cannot avoid, a choice between rushing in blindly or losing the advantage of surprise. Silas leans on him, a quiet reminder of the trust placed in Eli's hands, and Eli swallows hard, feeling both fear and determination coiling in his chest. The forest is silent now, each shadow stretching longer, every sound amplified, from the creak of the cabin's roof to the rustle of leaves beneath their feet. Eli's pulse hammers, yet he moves forward, the fog wrapping around him like a living thing, each breath visible in the cold night air. Miles glances at him, eyes locking in silent communication, a shared understanding that once the door is opened, nothing will be simple. The porch boards groan under their weight, and Eli hesitates for a heartbeat, weighing the stakes, the consequences, and the unknown threats lurking just beyond the threshold. Silas shifts slightly, whispering encouragement, and Eli feels the tension tighten, a coil of adrenaline and responsibility. The doorknob is cold in his hand, and with a decisive push, they enter, shadows from the outside fading as the cabin swallows them in darkness. The interior smells of old wood and damp earth, and Eli strains to see, every nerve on edge, aware that any sound could betray them. Miles positions Silas behind him, a protective barrier, and Eli scans the room, noticing subtle signs, footprints in the dust, a chair slightly out of place, evidence that they are not alone. The weight of anticipation presses on him, each second stretching, the silence deafening, broken only by the faint creak of a floorboard. Silas's hand tightens on his arm, a silent plea and a show of trust, and Eli feels the responsibility deepen. Every instinct screams to act, to protect, to anticipate the next movement, and Eli realizes that this cabin is a nexus of control and danger, a turning point that will test their courage and ingenuity. Shadows shift, a faint whisper drifts from a corner, and Eli knows a choice must be made: confront the unknown immediately or find a concealed position and wait. The decision is heavy, urgent, a pivot that will determine not just their safety but the balance of power in this unfolding night. Eli's eyes dart, heart racing, weighing options, calculating risks, and preparing to move at the first sign of motion, knowing that whatever comes next will redefine everything for him, for Silas, and for the unseen forces waiting beyond the fog. Inside the cabin, the air feels heavier, thick with the weight of decisions unspoken and trust untested. Eli Carter's hands are trembling as he adjusts Silas Rohr's coat, helping him settle onto a creaking bench, and for the first time, their eyes meet in a silent understanding. Silas's gaze is intense, acknowledging the courage and resolve Eli has displayed, and Eli feels a shift inside him, a spark of confidence he has never known. Miles' keen remains vigilant, scanning the dim corners, and Eli senses the balance of power subtly tilting, a realization dawning that their survival now depends on a shared effort, not just on strength or instinct alone. The cabin is quiet, yet charged with anticipation, and Eli notices small details: the scuff marks on the floor, the way light catches a crack in the wall, clues to what has passed through here before them. Silas attempts a small smile, and Eli returns it, a fleeting moment of human connection amid the tension, and for a heartbeat, fear and duty merge into something they both understand deeply. The forest beyond waits silently, threatening, unpredictable, yet inside the cabin, a fragile alliance forms, unspoken but palpable, and Eli feels the weight of responsibility for the first time, not as a burden but as a bond. Miles signals subtly, and Eli recognizes that their choices have consequences far beyond this night. Every decision, every movement matters, and the room seems to shrink with the enormity of what is at stake. Silas speaks softly, a suggestion of strategy, and Eli considers it, realizing that he is no longer just a boy reacting to events, he is an active participant, shaping outcomes, influencing the balance between danger and survival. Tension coils tighter with each breath, the stakes higher than before, and Eli can feel the emotional thread linking him to Silas, a bond forged in necessity, strengthened by peril, and made urgent by the uncertainty that looms outside the cabin walls. A faint noise at the window makes both freeze, the room suddenly alive with the possibility of discovery, and Eli's heart leaps with instinctive readiness. Silas leans slightly toward him, a silent reminder of dependence and trust, and Eli's own resolve hardens, knowing that every choice from this moment on carries weight, and every step will either protect or imperil them. The fog pressing against the cabin walls seems to whisper warnings, and Eli realizes that the night has shifted, that their relationship has transformed into something critical and interdependent, the balance delicate, the stakes undeniable. Miles adjusts his position, and Eli senses that the next move will define more than safety. It will define their understanding of each other, their connection under pressure, and the cabin feels like the crucible in which this trust is being tested. As a shadow flits across the doorway, Eli's breath catches, and the decision presents itself clearly, to act immediately or risk being passive, and with that, he feels the weight of the moment pressing him toward a choice that will change the course of the night entirely. The tension inside the cabin escalates as Eli Carter shifts. Silas roars slightly, trying to make him comfortable, but every movement is measured, cautious, a delicate balance between urgency and stealth. Eli's mind races with the weight of their choices, realizing that the decisions made in the forest have consequences rippling outward, unseen but threatening. Miles' keen moves silently around them, eyes scanning every shadow, every corner, every faint outline that could signal danger, his presence both reassuring and a reminder of the high stakes they face. Silas's gaze meets Eli's again, and Eli senses a subtle shift, a recognition that their relationship has changed. He is no longer just a boy caught in chaos, but a participant, a partner in survival, and the gravity of that trust presses on him like a stone. The wind presses against the cabin walls, carrying faint whispers, distant echoes of movement, and the faintest click of a hinge makes Eli flinch, heart hammering. He glances at Miles, whose sharp eyes catch the subtle tremor in the shadows, and Eli realizes that they are being watched, the forest and cabin alive with a presence they cannot yet identify. Silas exhales, the sound shallow and strained, and Eli reaches out instinctively, placing a hand on his shoulder, feeling the tremor of fear and relief mingling, the fragile connection between them reinforcing his determination. The fog outside shifts, shapes moving just beyond sight, and Eli knows that every step forward must be calculated, that one wrong move could unravel the careful balance they have fought to maintain. Miles gestures subtly, and they edge closer to a side window, peering into the night, each heartbeat echoing like a drum in Eli's chest. Footsteps crunch softly on the forest floor, deliberate, paced, and Eli's stomach knots. Someone has tracked them, someone patient, observant, and dangerous. Silas grips Eli's arm lightly, a reminder of dependence, trust, and shared risk, and Eli feels the surge of protectiveness sharpen into clarity. They must move before the observer makes a decision for them. A flicker of light from outside catches Eli's eye, a reflection off a branch, and his breath catches, awareness snapping to full attention. The cabin is silent now, but the danger presses from every angle, unseen, tangible, and relentless. Eli senses the weight of the next choice: stay hidden and risk exposure, or act decisively and reveal their position. Miles tilts his head, eyes narrowing, signaling that time is running out, and Eli understands the next move will define not only their safety but the fragile trust and power balance that has been building between them. The shadows seem to lean closer, the forest edge vibrating with potential threat, and as Eli prepares to make the first move, a sudden rustle from the far corner of the cabin startles them all, the unexpected sound a clear warning that the night is far from over and the next moment could change everything. The cabin trembles with tension as Eli Carter takes a steadying breath, heart racing with the realization that every choice made so far has led them to this fragile moment. Silas' roar shifts slightly, leaning on Eli, their eyes locking in an unspoken exchange of trust and urgency. Miles Keen crouches nearby, alert, sensing the invisible threads of danger weaving through the cabin, his gaze darting toward every corner, every shadow. Eli feels a surge of resolve, understanding that the power balance between him and Silas has shifted. He is no longer just a boy being guided, but a participant whose courage is shaping the outcome. The air is heavy, damp, carrying the scent of pine and cold earth from outside, and Eli's mind races through strategies, options, consequences, each one sharper and more urgent. Then the last. A sudden noise, a soft shuffle at the edge of the cabin, snaps their attention, and time seems to stretch. Eli presses a hand against Silas's shoulder, a gesture of both reassurance and command, and Silas meets his gaze, recognizing the gravity of the decision that must be made. Every instinct screams to act, and yet hesitation tempts, the tension coiling tighter with every heartbeat. Miles signals, subtle but firm, and Eli nods, feeling the weight of responsibility surge through him, the understanding that action is now unavoidable. The shadows in the corner of the room flicker as a figure moves, deliberate and patient, testing their reactions, and Eli realizes that the stakes have escalated far beyond anything he had imagined. The air vibrates with the silent pressure of unseen eyes, the room alive with anticipation and threat, and Eli's chest tightens with the urgency of the moment. He steadies himself, focusing on Silas's trust, the fragile bond that now ties them together under pressure, knowing that any misstep could unravel everything. Each breath, each heartbeat, each glance around the cabin sharpens the awareness of risk and consequence, the tension peaking with every passing second. Eli senses the weight of choice, the delicate balance between initiative and patience, and he understands that the next action will redefine their relationship, their roles, and the survival of both. Silas shifts, a subtle cue, and Eli takes it, moving with precision, his resolve crystallized in the face of uncertainty. The shadow hesitates, reacts, and in that frozen beat, Eli realizes the danger is immediate and the window for decisive action fleeting. The forest beyond waits, the night holding secrets and threat, and the cabin has become a crucible, testing courage, trust, and the emerging power between a boy and a man who depend on each other. Eli swallows hard, heart hammering, and steps forward, a choice made in a flash, knowing that the next moment will tip the balance and reveal a truth that neither of them can ignore, a revelation that could change everything. The cabin settles into a tense quiet, but the stillness is heavy, loaded with the weight of what just occurred. Eli Carter stands beside Silas Rohr, both catching their breath, yet neither fully relaxed, the aftermath of their choices pressing down like an invisible hand. Silas's eyes, once sharp and unyielding, now hold a subtle vulnerability, a recognition that the boy beside him has altered the balance of control between them. Eli feels it too, the shift from dependence to influence, and it humbles him, yet stirs a new confidence that he has not known before. The faint flicker of the lantern casts long shadows across the cabin walls, highlighting imperfections, hidden corners, and the lingering presence of unseen observers. Miles Keen moves carefully, checking every corner, but even his composed demeanor is punctuated by tight jawlines and narrowed eyes, an acknowledgement that the risks have multiplied. Eli's heart aches with the weight of awareness. Their actions have consequences that cannot be undone. He notices a small scuff in the floorboards where a misstep could have revealed them, a subtle reminder of how close they came to failure. Silas shifts, his hand brushing lightly against Eli's arm, a silent communication of trust and acknowledgement, and Eli feels a surge of connection, a momentary spike of emotional clarity amidst the storm of anxiety. Yet the relief is fleeting. Outside, a sudden crackle of movement in the underbrush pulls their attention, reminding them that the forest is still alive, still watching, still calculating. Eli's pulse accelerates, and he grips the edge of the bench, muscles taut, senses sharpened. Miles whispers a warning, a wordless signal that danger has not dissipated, and Eli realizes that they are already being tested by forces they cannot fully see. Silas exhales slowly, the sound mingling with Eli's quick, shallow breaths, and in that shared rhythm, Eli recognizes both vulnerability and reliance, the delicate dance of trust that has emerged from peril. Every shadow in the cabin seems to stretch longer, every faint noise exaggerated, a constant reminder that safety is temporary and fragile. Eli's mind spins with strategies, possibilities, contingencies, each weighed and measured, yet he feels the subtle pull of exhaustion mingled with adrenaline. Silas leans back, closing his eyes briefly, and Eli watches, noting the change in posture, the brief release of tension that hints at trust, yet also dependence. The lantern flickers again, casting one final long shadow, and Eli realizes that the night holds more than uncertainty. It holds revelations yet to surface, choices yet to demand action, and the next moment will test not just their courage but the depth of their bond. As the wind whistles faintly through a crack in the roof, carrying whispers of the forest, Eli senses a shift, a presence waiting to be revealed, and the silence stretches into a question, leaving the outcome suspended, unresolved, hanging in the cool air of the cabin. As Eli Carter steps closer to the window, the moonlight casts sharp lines across Silas Rohr's face, revealing subtle cracks in the composure that had seemed unshakable moments before. Eli senses a shift, a flicker of uncertainty, and for the first time he feels the weight of influence pressing against him, a quiet power emerging from his own courage. Silas leans slightly, observing Eli's steady movements, and Eli realizes that the trust he has earned has begun to recalibrate their dynamic, that his actions have tangible consequences on the control of the situation. Miles' keen shifts, signaling caution, but the tension now carries an additional layer, the awareness that the forest outside is no longer merely a threat but a participant in their unfolding story. Eli's pulse hammers as he notices a pattern in the shadows, a subtle alignment that suggests someone has been tracking their route, someone anticipating each step. Silas tilts his head, following Eli's gaze, and in that glance, Eli perceives the unspoken acknowledgement that they are partners in a delicate negotiation with the night itself. Every sound, the whisper of leaves, the creak of a floorboard, the distant rustle of branches, magnifies their vulnerability and sharpens their focus. Eli makes a decision, moving with precision toward a hidden side exit, and Silas follows without hesitation, this shift in initiative both exhilarating and unnerving. The cabin feels smaller, the stakes more immediate, as their steps echo softly, carrying the awareness that each choice now reverberates outward, unseen but consequential. Miles covers them, eyes alert to every hint of movement, and Eli feels the burden of responsibility intensify, the realization that their survival depends on coordination, perception, and instinct. As they reach the threshold, Eli glimpses an unexpected shadow, a figure not previously detected, watching from the edge of the clearing, waiting. Silas freezes beside him, a subtle tension passing between them, a recognition that the rules have changed and that control is no longer absolute. Eli swallows, heart racing, understanding that the forest, the cabin, and the night itself have become a chessboard, and he and Silas are active pieces in a game with consequences that extend beyond their immediate perception. Miles steps slightly forward, protective but alert, and the figure moves, revealing just enough to unsettle and intrigue, a signal, a clue, a disruption that shifts the entire balance. Eli's breath catches, adrenaline surging, as he realizes the true scope of the night, their actions, their trust, their courage, all subject to forces they had not fully accounted for. In a sudden flash, the shadow retreats, leaving behind a subtle sign, an implication that changes everything they thought they understood, and Eli knows that the next move will redefine the stakes, the trust, and the emerging power between him and Silas, setting the stage for revelations that will alter the course of their night entirely. The cabin vibrates with a tense energy that seems to seep into every bone and muscle. Eli Carter feels the weight of the night pressing down, each decision made echoing with consequences he cannot undo. Silas Rohr leans heavily on him, and Eli senses the shift in responsibility, the delicate balance of control now hanging between them. Miles Keen watches from the corner, his eyes sharp, movements precise, aware that the forest outside is no longer merely an obstacle but a force observing their every action. A subtle noise at the edge of the cabin startles them, a soft rustle, deliberate, signaling the presence of another unseen actor. Eli's heart hammers in his chest, a mix of fear, resolve, and adrenaline coiling together, sharpening every sense. The air is thick, damp, and heavy with anticipation, each breath drawn in shallow, rapid gasps. Eli glances at Silas, reading the tension in his eyes, the silent communication of trust, fear, and dependence, and he understands the stakes have escalated beyond anything they have faced. Every shadow seems to stretch toward them, every flicker of light amplifying the uncertainty, and Eli feels a surge of protective determination, ready to act, ready to decide. He scans the cabin, the scattered signs of previous presence, the subtle footprints, the disarranged floorboards, noting that their choices have left traces, clues for any observer. Silas straightens slightly, and Eli feels the unspoken expectation, the quiet reliance that his courage will shape the next outcome. Miles shifts subtly, signaling forward movement, and Eli makes the split-second decision to step toward the window, eyes narrowing on the faint silhouette beyond the fog. The forest seems to lean in closer, and the tension coils tighter with every heartbeat, a rhythm of suspense that leaves no room for hesitation. Eli's mind races, plotting, anticipating, feeling the intensity of every potential consequence. Silas's hand brushes against his arm, grounding him, a reminder of the human bond that has emerged from chaos, but also of the responsibility that cannot be abandoned. The faint shimmer of light outside reflects in Eli's eyes, a signal that the observer has moved, that time is pressing, and that the next choice will redefine their dynamic, their trust, and their survival. The cabin air grows taut with anticipation, every creak and whisper magnified, and Eli's pulse rises in sync with the building pressure. He realizes that the moment to act is imminent, that one movement could tip the balance entirely, and as his hand hovers over the latch of the side exit, the forest seems to hold its breath, the night waiting, the choice waiting, and Eli knows that whatever happens next will decide everything in an instant. The cabin settles into a stillness that feels both fragile and profound, Eli Carter standing beside Silas roar as the first light of dawn filters through the fogged windows, softening the edges of a night that had stretched endlessly. Eli's chest is heavy, each breath measured, and he feels the residue of fear, courage, and unspoken trust interweaving into something that has reshaped him entirely. Silas leans slightly, a subtle shift in posture that communicates acknowledgement, gratitude, and an understanding that this boy, once invisible, has altered the balance of their world in a way that cannot be undone. Miles Keene remains vigilant, yet even his posture softens, sensing that the immediate danger has passed, though the awareness of what could have been lingers like a shadow. Eli gazes at Silas, reading the quiet strength and the tempered vulnerability, and a wave of realization washes over him. Trust has become mutual, and dependence has transformed into a shared resolve, a bond forged in circumstance and hardened by choice. The room smells of damp wood and cold air, yet the weight of relief is palpable, mixed with the subtle ache of exhaustion, the kind that leaves muscles sore but spirits alive. Eli's fingers brush lightly over Silas's sleeve as he adjusts a fold of fabric, a simple gesture that carries profound significance, a physical acknowledgement of the invisible thread connecting them. Silas's eyes meet Eli's, and in that look is recognition, that courage is not measured by size or age, but by action, and that vulnerability can coexist with strength. The fog outside begins to lift, the forest holding its secrets still, yet Eli knows that the choices made in the night have shifted something essential, something enduring. He exhales slowly, letting the tension drain from his body, and realizes that the bond with Silas will guide future paths, decisions, and alliances in ways he cannot yet anticipate. Miles steps closer, offering a nod, a silent validation of their teamwork, and Eli feels a deepening sense of agency, that his actions have mattered beyond survival alone. The cabin, once oppressive with uncertainty and threat, now holds a quiet dignity, the aftermath of a night where courage, trust, and instinct collided with danger. Eli looks out the window, the first rays of light illuminating the forest edge, and understands that the world beyond is unchanged, yet for them, everything is transformed. Silas exhales, a quiet sigh that carries both relief and an unspoken question of what comes next, and Eli knows that this night will remain etched in memory, a testament to action, connection, and the moral weight of choices made under pressure. In the soft glow of morning, the cabin holds a suspended truth, that bravery is often measured in the moments no one sees, and trust, once earned, can reshape destinies in ways both subtle and profound. The cabin is quiet now, the fog outside retreating with the first hints of morning light, and Eli Carter feels a profound shift within himself. Each breath is steady, measured, carrying the weight of choices made and the subtle relief that survival has been earned, not given. Silas Rohr sits upright, leaning back slightly, eyes reflective, and Eli senses a new dynamic between them, one that acknowledges courage, trust, and the unspoken debts that bind people in moments of danger. Miles Keene remains vigilant near the doorway, but even he seems to recognize the night's resolution, the tension easing just enough to allow reflection, though the awareness of unseen threats lingers. Eli's hands rest lightly on his knees, fingers tracing faint scratches from the events that have passed, a tactile reminder of struggle, effort, and the personal growth born from necessity. Silas studies him quietly, a subtle smile hinting at acknowledgement and respect, and Eli feels a sense of belonging, of earned agency, a change that will endure beyond the forest and cabin walls. The air carries the scent of damp pine, earth, and wood, grounding them in the moment while reminding them that the world outside remains unpredictable, waiting with secrets yet untold. Every glance between Eli and Silas is weighted with understanding, the emotional thread of trust now woven through their shared experience, resilient and fragile all at once. Miles steps back, allowing them a private moment, and Eli feels the quiet power of the night's events settle into him, a mix of relief, pride, and the sobering recognition of the cost that bravery demands. The cabin seems to breathe with them, every creak and whisper marking a chapter in their journey, and Eli senses that the night has imparted lessons beyond survival, courage, decisiveness, and the transformative power of connection under pressure. Outside, a faint rustle from the edge of the forest catches Eli's attention, a reminder that not all secrets have been revealed, that the night's events are but a prelude to challenges yet to come. He exchanges a knowing glance with Silas, the unspoken promise of vigilance and partnership forming between them, and Eli feels the gravity of growth and the subtle shift of power, balanced delicately on mutual trust. As the sun rises higher, illuminating the fog-draped trees, Eli reflects on the price of courage, the bonds forged under duress, and the understanding that every choice carries consequences, some visible, some lingering in the shadows. The cabin holds a silence rich with meaning, and Eli senses that while the immediate danger has passed, the echoes of this night will ripple forward, shaping decisions, shaping trust, and leaving a trace that will linger in both the forest and their lives, a quiet thread hinting at mysteries still waiting to unfold. The first rays of sunlight pierce the forest canopy, scattering golden light across the cabin floor, and Eli Carter stands beside Silas Rohr, a quiet sense of completion settling over him. The night's chaos has passed, leaving behind traces of courage, trust, and understanding that neither of them could have anticipated. Silas's eyes meet Eli's, a silent acknowledgement of the bond forged through peril, and for the first time, Eli feels the weight of his actions not as fear but as accomplishment. Miles Keene steps back, a slight nod confirming that the immediate danger has been resolved, and the cabin breathes with the calm after a storm. Eli notices the faint marks in the dust, remnants of every step, every choice, every moment that tested them, and a profound awareness fills him. Bravery is measured not by the absence of fear, but by the willingness to act despite it. Silas adjusts his coat, standing tall, but there is a softness in his gaze, a recognition of the boy who has become integral to the outcome, whose courage reshaped the balance between them. Eli exhales slowly, letting the tension drain, the adrenaline ebbing into reflection, and a sense of satisfaction mingles with the lingering echo of risk overcome. Outside, the forest is still, yet alive with promise, the shadows receding as light spreads, revealing paths and possibilities that were hidden in the dark. Eli glances toward the trees, understanding that the night's trials have left him changed, stronger, more aware, and intimately connected to those who relied on him. Silas steps closer, a subtle gesture of respect and acknowledgement, and Eli feels the final threads of trust woven into the tapestry of their shared experience. The cabin, once oppressive with uncertainty, now feels like a sanctuary of reflection, a quiet testament to choices made, lessons learned, and courage proven. Every sound, the creak of wood, the whisper of leaves outside, the steady breathing of his companions, echoes the night's journey, each moment a reminder of stakes faced and endurance earned. Eli's mind traces the path from fear to action, from hesitation to decisive movement, and he realizes that growth, responsibility, and empathy are the true treasures gained from trials endured. Silas places a hand lightly on Eli's shoulder, a gesture that speaks of trust, reliance, and the recognition of strength beyond appearances. The forest beyond the cabin holds mystery still, but within these walls, clarity and connection remain, an emotional payoff that resonates with quiet power. Eli breathes in deeply, letting the weight and meaning of the night settle into him, knowing that courage, once tested, leaves a lasting imprint on both the heart and the soul. As the light shifts, touching the edge of the cabin and spilling into the surrounding forest, a quiet truth lingers. Bravery and trust shape destinies in ways that no threat or shadow can erase, and sometimes, the smallest actions leave the greatest impact.